The afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the cracked concrete steps of the downtown community center. Maya Washington adjusted her worn canvas bag and checked her phone for the third time in 5 minutes. The job interview had ended an hour ago, and she was still processing the disappointment in the manager's eyes when he saw her address. Living in the projects apparently made her less suitable for the customer service position, despite her excellent qualifications and 2 years of community college. She sat down heavily on the steps, watching the steady stream of people walking past. Most avoided eye contact, hurrying to their destinations with determined focus. Maya understood that look. She wore it herself most days. It was the armor of urban survival, the invisible shield that kept strangers at a distance and problems from multiplying. The sound of laughter broke through her thoughts. High-pitched, genuine, and infectious, the kind of laugh that could make even the weariest soul pause and remember what joy sounded like. Maya looked around until she spotted the source, a little girl sitting alone on a bench about 20 feet away, giggling at something on her tablet. The child couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with copper-colored curls that caught the sunlight and the kind of pale skin that showed she spent most of her time indoors. She wore a pristine white dress with tiny blue flowers, the kind that probably cost more than Maya's monthly grocery budget. White knee socks and shiny patent leather shoes completed the picture of carefully maintained innocence. But it was what Maya noticed next that made her breath catch. The little girl's left leg ended just below the knee. A small prosthetic device was barely visible beneath her sock, and a pair of child-sized crutches leaned against the bench beside her. Maya's heart clenched. She had worked with children during her volunteer hours at the community center, and she recognized the particular kind of loneliness that sometimes surrounded kids who looked different from their peers. Despite the expensive clothes and obvious signs of privilege, this little girl was sitting completely alone, and Maya could see she kept glancing around as if looking for someone who should have been there. Their eyes met across the concrete plaza. The little girl's face lit up with a smile so bright it could have powered the entire block. She waved enthusiastically, as if Maya were an old friend she hadn't seen in months. Without thinking, Maya found herself waving back. The child immediately began struggling to gather her crutches, clearly intending to make her way over. Maya's protective instincts kicked in. She quickly stood and walked toward the bench, not wanting the little girl to navigate the uneven pavement unnecessarily. "Hi there," Maya said gently as she approached. "I'm Maya. What's your name?" "I'm Sophie," the child announced with the kind of unself-conscious enthusiasm that adults spend years trying to recapture. "Sophie Elizabeth Thornton, but everyone just calls me Sophie." "Well, except when I'm in trouble, and then, Daddy calls me by my whole name, including my middle name, which is really long." Maya couldn't help but smile. "Sophie's a beautiful name. Are you waiting for someone?" Sophie's expression dimmed slightly. "Daddy's in a big meeting. He said it would only take a few minutes, but that was." She looked at a delicate gold watch on her tiny wrist, squinting at it with the intense concentration of someone still learning to tell time. "That was a really long time ago. He told me to wait right here and not to move, and I haven't moved except to wave at you, which probably doesn't count because I didn't move my feet." Maya glanced around the busy plaza, noting the mix of business people, families, and the occasional person who looked like they might not have anywhere else to go. It wasn't exactly an unsafe area during the day, but it certainly wasn't the kind of place she would leave a young child unattended. "How long has your daddy been gone?" Maya asked, settling onto the bench beside Sophie. "Forever and ever," Sophie said dramatically, then reconsidered. "Or maybe like." She held up both hands, fingers spread. "This many minutes. Maybe more. I can count to 100, but I forgot to start counting when he left." Maya estimated it had been at least 30 minutes since she first noticed the child, and Sophie had clearly been there longer than that. Where was this girl's father? And what kind of meeting could be so important that it justified leaving a 7-year-old alone in a public space? Are you sure he said to wait here? Maya asked carefully. Maybe he meant inside the building. Sophie shook her head vigorously. No, he said right here on this bench because he could see me through the big window. She pointed to a towering office building across the street. See? Way up there on the... She counted floors on her fingers. The really high up floor. Maya squinted at the building. From this distance and angle, she doubted anyone could really keep an eye on a child from that height, especially with the constant movement of people in the plaza. What if we went inside somewhere with air conditioning? Maya suggested. Maybe the lobby of that building? That way your daddy could still find you easily. I can't move, Sophie said seriously. I promised Daddy I would stay right here. And promises are very important. Daddy says a person is only as good as their word, and I want to be a very good person. The earnestness in the child's voice made Maya's chest tight. Here was a little girl with obvious physical challenges, sitting alone in a public space, rigidly following rules that might not even make sense in the current situation, all because she wanted to be good. You know what? Maya said, making a decision. I was just sitting over there feeling pretty lonely myself. Would it be okay if I kept you company while you wait? I promise I won't try to get you to break any rules. Sophie's entire face transformed. Really? You want to sit with me? Even though I only have one real leg? The question hit Maya like a physical blow. How many times had this child been made to feel like her prosthetic made her less worthy of friendship or attention? Sophie, Maya said firmly, I want to sit with you because you seem like an amazing person to talk to. Your legs have nothing to do with it. Some kids at school think it's weird, Sophie confided. They ask if it hurts or if I can run fast or if I can feel things with my not real leg. Sometimes they just stare and whisper. That must be really hard, Maya said. People sometimes stare at things that are different because they're curious, but that doesn't make it feel good. Exactly. Sophie exclaimed, as if Maya had perfectly articulated something she'd been struggling to express. And then, when I try to explain, they act like I'm contagious or something. But, I'm not. The doctor said I was born this way and, it's not catching and, it's not anybody's fault. Maya nodded. The doctors are right. And, you know what? Some of my favorite people are the ones who are different in some way. Different people have the most interesting stories. Do you have any interesting stories? Sophie asked eagerly. I do, Maya said. But, first, tell me about your story. What do you like to do for fun? And, just like that, Sophie launched into an animated description of her life. She loved to paint, especially watercolors because they made such pretty surprises when the colors ran together. She had a cat named Mr. Whiskers who was very fat and very lazy and sometimes slept on her prosthetic when she took it off at night. She was learning to play piano, which was challenging because you needed both feet for the pedals, but her teacher was helping her figure out creative solutions. Maya found herself genuinely enchanted by this child's perspective on the world. Sophie approached every challenge with matter-of-fact problem-solving and infectious optimism. When she mentioned that swimming was her favorite activity because in the water everyone moved differently anyway, Maya felt a surge of admiration for this little girl's wisdom. You sound like you stay pretty busy, Maya observed. Oh yes, Sophie said seriously. Daddy says idle hands are the devil's playground, whatever that means. I think it means I should always have something to do. But, sometimes. She lowered her voice conspirationally. Sometimes I just want to sit and watch clouds or listen to music or think about things. Thinking about things is very important, Maya agreed. What kinds of things do you like to think about? Well, Sophie said, settling back against the bench as if preparing for a long conversation, I think about why some people are born different and, if there's a reason for it. Like, maybe I was supposed to learn something special because I only have one leg, or maybe I was supposed to teach other people something special. Maya stared at this remarkable child. What do you think you might be supposed to teach people? Maybe that being different isn't scary? Or that you can still do almost everything even if you do it differently than other people? Or maybe... Sophie paused thoughtfully. Maybe that being kind is more important than having all your parts in the regular places. The wisdom coming from this 7-year-old was staggering. Maya found herself thinking about her own life, her own challenges, her own tendency to let circumstances defeat her before she even tried. Sophie, she said slowly, I think you might be one of the smartest people I've ever met. Really? Sophie beamed. Daddy says I'm smart too, but daddies have to say that. It's like a daddy rule. But, you don't have to say it, so maybe it's really true. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the world move around them. Maya checked her phone and realized nearly an hour had passed since she first sat down. Sophie's father had been gone for well over an hour, possibly closer to 2. Where could he be? Sophie, do you have your daddy's phone number memorized? Maya asked. Of course. Sophie said proudly. Daddy made me learn it and our address and 3 other important phone numbers in case of emergencies. Do you think this is an emergency? Maya considered this carefully. The child wasn't in immediate danger, and she seemed comfortable and happy. But being left alone for this long wasn't exactly normal either. Not an emergency exactly, Maya said. But maybe we could just call and let him know you're okay and that you have a friend with you. Sophie's eyes widened. Are we friends? Real friends? I hope so, Maya said warmly. If you want to be. Yes. Sophie practically shouted. I would love to be real friends. Wait until I tell Daddy. He's going to be so excited that I made a friend. He worries sometimes that I don't have enough friends because of my leg, but I tell him that the right friends don't care about legs. Maya pulled out her phone. What's your daddy's number? Sophie carefully recited the number, and Maya dialed. The phone went straight to voicemail. A deep, professional voice said, You've reached Marcus Thornton. Please leave a detailed message and I'll return your call as soon as possible. Maya hung up without leaving a message. She didn't want to alarm Sophie's father, but she also wasn't sure how to explain the situation in a voicemail. It went to voicemail, she told Sophie. That probably just means he's still in his meeting. Oh, Sophie said, looking disappointed. His meetings are always really, really long. Sometimes he doesn't come out for hours and hours. Hours? Maya felt a growing concern. What kind of parent left a child with a disability alone for hours? Sophie, she said gently, when your daddy goes to long meetings like this, who usually stays with you? Well, usually Mrs. Chen stays with me, but she had to go visit her sick sister. And Maria couldn't come today because her little boy is sick. And Daddy tried to get someone else, but everybody was busy, so he said I was old enough to wait by myself for just a few minutes. Maya was beginning to understand. Sophie's father had probably intended to be gone for a short time, but something had extended his meeting. He likely had no idea how long he'd been gone or that his daughter had been sitting alone in the plaza. Has this happened before? Maya asked. Not exactly, Sophie said. But, sometimes grown-up things take longer than they're supposed to. Daddy always tells me that business is complicated and, sometimes important meetings can't be rushed. Maya nodded, but she was starting to feel frustrated with this absent father. Important meeting or not, your child's safety had to come first. As if sensing Maya's thoughts, Sophie added quietly, Daddy works really hard to take care of me. Since my mommy died, it's just been me and him, and he wants to make sure I have everything I need. Maya's irritation immediately transformed into sympathy. A single father, dealing with work pressures while raising a child with special needs, still grieving the loss of his wife. No wonder he seemed overwhelmed. How long ago did your mommy die? Maya asked gently. 3 years ago, Sophie said matter-of-factly. I was 4. I don't remember very much about her, but Daddy has lots of pictures and he tells me stories. He says I have her eyes and her spirit, whatever that means. I bet she would be very proud of the amazing person you're growing up to be, Maya said. Do you really think so? Sophie asked hopefully. I absolutely think so, Maya said firmly. Any mother would be proud to have such a smart, kind, brave daughter. Sophie smiled radiantly, then, surprised Maya by scooting closer on the bench and leaning against her arm. I'm glad you came to sit with me, she said softly. This is much better than waiting alone. Maya felt her heart expand in a way that surprised her. When was the last time someone had trusted her so completely, so immediately? When was the last time she'd felt genuinely needed? I'm glad too, she said honestly. And she realized that her failed job interview, her financial worries, even her disappointment about her living situation, none of it seemed as important as making sure this little girl felt safe and cared for. They sat together in the afternoon sun, an unlikely pair brought together by chance and held together by something that was starting to feel like fate. As the afternoon wore on, Maya found herself drawn deeper into Sophie's world. The little girl had an endless supply of stories, observations, and questions that revealed both her intelligence and her innocence. She talked about her art projects with the passion of a dedicated artist, describing color combinations and techniques with surprising sophistication. I'm working on a painting of Mr. Whiskers, Sophie explained, using her hands to illustrate. But, it's really hard to paint fur. It's not just one color, it's like a million tiny different colors all mixed together. My art teacher says I should use short brush strokes and build up layers, but sometimes I get impatient and try to do too much at once. That sounds like a very advanced technique for someone your age, Maya observed. How long have you been taking art lessons? Since I was 5, Sophie said proudly. Daddy thought it would be good for me to have something I could do sitting down. At first I was mad because I thought he was saying I couldn't do other things because of my leg. But, then, I realized that actually I just love making beautiful things. Maya marveled at this child's emotional intelligence. Sophie seemed to process complex feelings and situations with remarkable clarity for someone so young. Can you show me some of your art sometime? Maya asked. Sophie's eyes lit up. Really? You want to see my paintings? I have tons of them at home. Daddy hangs them all over the house, even the ones that aren't very good. He says every artist needs an audience. Your daddy sounds like he loves you very much, Maya said. Oh, he does, Sophie said without hesitation. Sometimes I think he loves me too much. Like, he worries about everything. If I want to climb on the playground equipment, he's afraid I'll fall. If I want to ride my bike, he's afraid I'll crash. If I want to go to sleepovers, he's afraid the other kids will be mean. Is he usually right to worry? Maya asked gently. Sophie considered this seriously. Sometimes. Some kids are mean, and I do fall more than other kids because my balance is different. But I think maybe he forgets that falling down isn't the worst thing that can happen. The worst thing would be never trying anything. Maya was continually amazed by Sophie's wisdom. This 7-year-old had a clearer perspective on risk and resilience than many adults Maya knew. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? Maya asked. Sophie's face lit up with mischief. Promise you won't tell Daddy? I promise, Maya said, though she was curious what kind of trouble a 7-year-old could get into. Last month, when Daddy was talking to the pool maintenance man, I went down the big slide at the community pool. The really big one that he always says is too dangerous for me. Maya waited for the rest of the story. And, she prompted. And it was amazing. Sophie exclaimed. I went so fast, and when I hit the water it was like flying. I went underwater for a second and, when I came up I felt like I could do anything. Did you get in trouble? Well, Sophie said sheepishly, Daddy saw me when I was climbing out of the pool. At first he was scared, and, then, he was mad, and, then. She paused dramatically. Then, he asked me to show him how I did it. Really? Really? And, you know what? He went down the slide too. And, he said he was proud of me for being brave, but, next time I should ask first so he could be ready to help if I needed it. Maya smiled. Maybe Sophie's father wasn't as overprotective as the little girl sometimes felt. It sounded like he was trying to find the balance between keeping her safe and letting her explore her capabilities. Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the office building. Maya looked up to see a group of people in business suits emerging from the revolving doors, talking animatedly. Several expensive cars were pulling up to the curb, and drivers in uniform were getting out to open doors. Is that your daddy? Maya asked, though none of the men seemed to be looking around for a missing child. Sophie squinted across the plaza. I don't see him yet. But, sometimes when meetings end, it takes him a while to finish talking to people. He says networking is very important for business success. Maya checked her phone again. It was now well past 5 o'clock, and Sophie had been waiting for at least 2.5 hours. Her concern was growing, but she tried not to let it show. Sophie, are you getting hungry? She asked. Or thirsty? A little bit, Sophie admitted. But, I have a granola bar in my backpack if I get really hungry. And, Daddy gave me money for a drink from the vending machine if I needed one. Maya was relieved that Sophie's father had at least prepared her for a longer wait than he'd originally anticipated. Still, she wondered if she should try calling him again. Would you like me to call your daddy one more time? Maya suggested. Just to let him know you're okay. Okay, Sophie agreed. But, first, can I ask you something? Of course. What do you do for work? Are you important like Daddy? Maya felt a familiar pang of inadequacy. How did she explain to this privileged child that she was currently unemployed, living in subsidized housing, and had just been rejected for a minimum wage job? Well, Maya said carefully, I'm between jobs right now. I was actually at a job interview earlier today, before I met you. Did you get the job? Sophie asked with genuine interest. No, I didn't, Maya admitted. That's too bad, Sophie said sympathetically. But, maybe there's an even better job waiting for you somewhere else. That's what Daddy always says when things don't work out the way we planned. Maya was touched by the child's earnest attempt to comfort her. That's very wise advice. What kind of job do you want? Sophie asked. Maya thought about it. I'd really like to work with children. I've volunteered at community centers and after-school programs, and I love helping kids learn and grow. But those jobs are hard to find, and they don't always pay enough to live on. You're really good with kids, Sophie said matter-of-factly. You didn't treat me like I was weird or fragile or anything. Most grown-ups either ignore me or they talk to me like I'm a baby because of my leg. That must be frustrating, Maya said. It really is. Like, my brain works just fine. I might walk differently, but I think the same as other kids. Actually, sometimes I think more than other kids because I have to figure out how to do things differently. Maya dialed Sophie's father's number again. This time, instead of going straight to voicemail, it rang several times before a harried voice answered. Thornton. Mr. Thornton. Maya said. I'm calling about Sophie. There was a pause. Who is this? Where's Sophie? Is she okay? Maya could hear the immediate panic in his voice. She's fine, she said quickly. She's sitting right here with me. I'm Maya Washington. I've been keeping Sophie company while she waits for you. Keeping her company? What do you mean? Who are you? Put Sophie on the phone. Maya handed the phone to Sophie. Hi Daddy, she said cheerfully. I made a new friend. Her name is Maya and she's been sitting with me while you were in your meeting and she's really nice and she wants to work with children and, Sophie, slow down, Marcus's voice was loud enough for Maya to hear. Are you okay? Are you still on the bench where I left you? Yes, Daddy, I'm exactly where you left me. I didn't move, just like I promised. But, Maya came and sat with me so I wouldn't be lonely. There was another pause. Sophie, I need you to listen carefully. I want you to go into the lobby of the building across the street. Can you do that? And take your new friend with you. Sophie looked confused. But, Daddy, you said to wait on the bench. I know what I said, but things have changed. I need you to go inside where there are security guards. I'll be down in 15 minutes. Okay, Sophie said uncertainly. She handed the phone back to Maya. Ma'am, Marcus said, and his tone was crisp and businesslike. I don't know who you are or what your intentions are, but I need you to take my daughter to the lobby of the Meridian building immediately. There are security guards there who know her. Can you do that? Maya felt a flutter of annoyance at his suspicious tone, but she understood his concern. Of course, she said. We'll head over there right now. And, ma'am. Thank you for staying with her. I'll be right down. The line went dead. Sophie was gathering her crutches and backpack with practiced efficiency. Daddy sounds worried, she observed. He uses his business voice when he's worried. But, I told him you're nice, so he shouldn't be worried. They made their way slowly across the plaza, Sophie moving skillfully on her crutches despite the uneven pavement. Maya stayed close, ready to help if needed, but she was impressed by the child's independence and confidence. The lobby of the Meridian building was a study in understated luxury. Marble floors, soft lighting, and sophisticated furniture created an atmosphere of wealth and power. A security guard behind a polished desk looked up as they approached. Miss Sophie, he said warmly. Your dad's been looking for you. Well, not looking for you exactly, but he called down about 10 minutes ago asking us to watch for you. Hi Jerry. Sophie said brightly. This is my new friend Maya. She kept me company while Daddy was in his meeting. Jerry looked at Maya with professional assessment, but his expression was friendly. Nice to meet you, Maya. Sophie's dad should be down any minute. Can I get you ladies anything? Water? Soda? Could we have some water? Maya asked. It's pretty warm out there. Coming right up, Jerry said, reaching into a small refrigerator behind his desk. They settled into plush chairs in the seating area. Sophie seemed completely at ease in this environment, chatting with Jerry about her art classes and her cat. It was clear she was a familiar presence here. Maya found herself wondering about Sophie's father. What kind of business was he in that required meetings in buildings like this? How wealthy was this family? And, why did that make her feel suddenly self-conscious about her own appearance? She looked down at her interview outfit, a simple black blazer from a discount store, gray slacks that had seen better days, and flats that she'd bought on clearance. Everything was clean and pressed, but nothing about her appearance suggested she belonged in this marble lobby with its crystal chandeliers and original artwork. Sophie seemed oblivious to any class differences. She was telling Jerry about her new friendship with the same enthusiasm she might reserve for any important event in her 7-year-old life. Maya knows a lot about art, Sophie was saying. And, she's really smart. We talked about colors and painting techniques and all sorts of things. Is that right? Jerry said, glancing at Maya with renewed interest. Are you an artist yourself? Not professionally, Maya said. But, I've always loved art. I took some classes in college. Maya went to college. Sophie announced proudly, as if this was the most impressive accomplishment she could imagine. Before Jerry could respond, the elevator dinged and the doors opened. A tall man in an expensive suit emerged, his eyes scanning the lobby urgently until they landed on Sophie. "Daddy!" Sophie called out, waving enthusiastically. The man who hurried toward them was not what Maya had expected. Yes, he was clearly wealthy, his suit probably cost more than Maya made in a month. But, his face showed genuine concern and relief, not the cold business executive she had imagined from his phone manner. Marcus Thornton was probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair that looked like he'd been running his hands through it and eyes that were currently focused entirely on his daughter. He was handsome in a tired, stressed kind of way, and, when he knelt down to Sophie's level, his entire demeanor softened. "Are you okay, sweetheart?" he asked, checking her over as if looking for injuries. "I'm so sorry I was gone so long. The meeting ran way over, and, then, there were complications with the contract, and," he stopped himself. "Never mind all that. Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Daddy," Sophie said patiently. "I told you on the phone. Maya kept me company and we talked about art and life and all sorts of interesting things." Only then, did Marcus look up at Maya, and she saw him taking in her appearance with the same professional assessment Jerry had given her. But, his expression was harder to read. "You must be Maya," he said, standing and extending his hand. "Marcus Thornton. I can't thank you enough for staying with Sophie." His handshake was firm, and his eyes were direct. Maya had expected condescension or suspicion, but what she saw instead was genuine gratitude mixed with embarrassment. "It was my pleasure," Maya said honestly. "Sophie is remarkable. You should be very proud." Something in Marcus's expression shifted slightly. "You spent the whole afternoon with her." "Most of it," Maya admitted. "I was just sitting in the plaza when I saw her, and she seemed lonely, so she just came over and started talking to me." Sophie interjected. "And she didn't ask weird questions about my leg or treat me like I was breakable or anything. We're going to be friends." Marcus looked between his daughter and Maya, and something complicated crossed his face. "Sophie doesn't usually warm up to strangers that quickly," he said quietly. "Maybe she recognized a kindred spirit," Maya suggested. "Maybe she did," Marcus said, and there was a warmth in his voice that hadn't been there before. He looked around the elegant lobby, then, back at Maya. "Would you like to join us for dinner? It's the least I can do after you spent your entire afternoon taking care of my daughter." Maya felt a moment of panic. Dinner? With this wealthy man and his daughter? At what was probably an expensive restaurant where she couldn't afford anything on the menu. "That's very kind," she said carefully, "but I should probably get home." "Please." Sophie said immediately. "Daddy, can't Maya come with us? I want to show her more pictures of my paintings on your phone." Marcus looked at Maya again, and she had the strange feeling he was really seeing her for the first time. "Please," he said. "I'd really like to hear more about how you and Sophie spent the afternoon. And, honestly, after the day I've had, I could use some pleasant conversation." Maya looked at Sophie's hopeful face, then, at Marcus's tired eyes, and realized that maybe they needed this evening as much as she did. Maybe, for once in her life, she could set aside her insecurities and just enjoy the moment. "Okay," she said. "Dinner sounds lovely." Sophie clapped her hands in delight, and even Marcus smiled, the first genuine smile she'd seen from him. "Wonderful," he said. "I know just the place." The restaurant Marcus chose was nothing like what Maya had feared. Instead of some intimidating fine dining establishment, he led them to a cozy family-owned Italian place just a few blocks from the business district. The kind of restaurant where children were welcome and the atmosphere was warm rather than pretentious. "Sophie loves the mac and cheese here," Marcus explained as they were seated in a corner booth. And they make it with 3 different kinds of cheese, so it's basically gourmet mac and cheese. It's the best mac and cheese in the whole world, Sophie declared solemnly. I've had mac and cheese in lots of places, and this one is definitely the champion. Maya found herself relaxing as the informal atmosphere worked its magic. Marcus had loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves, transforming from intimidating businessman to tired father. Sophie was in her element, chattering about the restaurant's decorations and planning what she wanted to order. Tell me about your meeting, Sophie said to her father as they looked over the menus. Was it boring? Did you have to talk about numbers and contracts and other grown-up things? Marcus smiled at his daughter's question. It was pretty boring, actually. Lots of numbers and contracts, just like you said. But, hopefully it will help us expand our business, which means we can help more families. What kind of business do you have? Maya asked, genuinely curious. We develop adaptive technology for children with disabilities, Marcus said. Prosthetics, mobility aids, communication devices, equipment that helps kids do the things they want to do. Maya looked at him with new understanding. That's incredible. What made you get into that field? Marcus glanced at Sophie, who was coloring on the paper placemat the server had brought. Personal experience, he said simply. When Sophie was born, I realized how limited the options were for pediatric prosthetics. Everything was designed for adults and, then, scaled down, but, children have different needs, different activity levels, different aesthetic preferences. Daddy made my leg. Sophie announced proudly, looking up from her coloring. Well, not made it himself, but, his company designed it specially for me. It's purple and, sparkly and, it has a secret compartment where I can keep tiny treasures. Maya stared. You designed your daughter's prosthetic? Our team did, Marcus clarified. Sophie was our first test case, and she's been our most honest critic ever since. The first one was too heavy, Sophie explained matter-of-factly. And, it pinched when I sat down. So we fixed those problems. Then, the second one was better but, it looked too much like a robot, and, I wanted something prettier. So we fixed that too. How many versions did you go through? Maya asked. 7, Sophie and Marcus said in unison, then, laughed. But, now it's perfect, Sophie added. And, other kids can get ones just like it if they want. Daddy says we've helped over 100 kids so far. Maya felt a profound shift in her understanding of this family. Marcus wasn't just some wealthy businessman, he was a father who had turned his love for his daughter into a mission to help other children. And, Sophie wasn't just a privileged child with a disability, she was an active participant in creating solutions for other kids. Sometimes the most beautiful moments happen when we least expect them. In a world where people often judge by appearances, where wealth creates invisible barriers, and, where differences seem to divide us, there are still those magical encounters that remind us of our shared humanity. This is the story of how a simple act of kindness between strangers became something extraordinary, a moment that would change 2 lives forever and reveal that the most precious gifts we can offer each other cost nothing at all. What happens when genuine compassion meets unexpected circumstances? What unfolds when someone's true character shines through, completely unaware that everything is about to change? This is that story, raw, real, and absolutely true.